Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for today. And it's that time of the year in the game again. We have bonus artifact XP. This is something that I think the last one was about 8 months ago. It's something that the community has really been up in arms, raising pitchforks about, asking when it's going to be, or when's the next double XP, when's the next double XP. I lost count of any like Discord, YouTube, and forum or in-game comments I've seen about it. But it's finally here. It runs through March 29th. Now, before I get into the topic of this video, which is breaking down what artifacts I feel that you should level and kind of having that discussion, you can follow the timestamps too and skip to that specific build you're looking to know the artifacts for. But we need to address the drama that's been going on for the past couple weeks regarding the leak of an image from the forums regarding Eye of the Gemini artifact changes. So we have a recent post from MEPS. No changes to EOG are finalized. EOG, like all artifacts, may see adjustments in the future, drastic or otherwise. And I also mentioned that it's literally in the daybreak terms of service. That's why people are like, oh, I paid for this artifact, you can't nerf it. I mean, it's literally spelled out that they can do whatever they want for it because it's a virtual item. They may significantly increase or diminish over time as a result of value and desirability. So they can nerf it to the ground, and it doesn't matter what you say. It's literally in the terms of service. But I'm not here to break down those changes or even post what they are because we don't know. It's not on public test. We can't cover any videos on it. I can't do any comparisons. So it's really all hypothetical at this point. Do I feel the changes are coming? I mean, I think it's pretty clear over the past couple of years how many videos I've done saying EOG is completely broken and has to be nerfed to the ground. So, I mean, if you need my kind of standpoint on it, yes, the changes need to come and they should be nerfed to the ground. But we don't know what they're going to be. It's nothing's finalized because nothing is released to the public in terms of we can actually see what the changes are and run the numbers. So you have to take this with a grain of salt. I know there's going to be comments saying oh, should I destroy EOG or fortify it into another artifact, or should I keep using this? That's a decision that you have to make. I cannot make that decision for you. So let's get into it and let's talk about these artifacts. Okay, so taking a look at Might DPS first. We have the main artifacts, Transformation Strategist. Like I said, Eye of the Gemini is an unknown status. If you have it, you can always keep it. If you don't have it, same thing. It's buyer beware at this point. But like I said, it's your choice. I can't tell you to level it and take the responsibility if it gets nerfed and you're like, oh, Obsidian told me to level it. That's not happening. We have Linnaeus Amulet, which is also very strong. So even if Eye of the Gemini, say, isn't viable for DPS anymore, you got Transformation Strat and Amulet. And if you can't run Amulet because of the damage, you got Quizlet. You got single target builds that some need Soul Amplifiers, some don't. Then we have the swap artifacts, which aren't strong enough to be on a main rotation, but are very powerful swapping, just like for Scrap for supercharges, Dead King Scepter from orbitals. If you have any kind of supercharge that does dots, like Ice's Blizzard or Munitions Mounted Turret, you got Piper's Flute, you got Philosopher's Stone for your supply drops, and you got Mercy swapping in before you summon a pet or henchman to get that extra damage proc. So a lot of artifacts are Might DPS, but like I said, the swapping artifacts isn't for everyone. So if you're looking for just the main artifacts that covers the most builds, then you're looking at the top row. And if you're looking for kind of max potentials of Might DPS, then you're incorporating the second tier for the swaps. So for Precision DPS, same thing. We have an unknown status of Gemini, but we've got Transformation Strategists being the main ones. And then the swap prec arts will be Death King Scepter, Scrap the Soul Cloak, Piper's Flute, Philosopher's Stone, and Mercy. Just beware, Piper's Flute and Scepter scale with Might. So as a prec DPS, they're going to be lower damage than you would as a Might DPS, but it's still free damage on the swap. Same thing with Mercy, but Mercy, all that damage scales for Might. So it's going to be much lower as a prec DPS compared to if you're using it as a Might. For pet DPS, this hasn't really changed at all. It's going to be Source Shard, Quizlet, and Mercy, and you should also work into getting Dead King Scepter to lower all the cooldowns of your pets, be able to swap that in. So for Power Controller, it's going to be Amulet of Ra, Parasite Power Harness, and Scrap the Soul Cloak. I know some people may mention like a Bob Comlink with a strategist card. For me, I still feel that the max power regen you can get as a power controller is going to be focusing on your supercharge. You get like a Black Adam ally build with the increased supercharge regen on the supercharge generators. You've got Power Set Power Harness, which will help you increase buff the prec DPS a little bit, but the main difference is that it increases your power pool, and that power pool in turn, how Might DPS, as long as you're super power spec, Might DPS's power pools are based on their regen. So the larger the power pool for super power spec, the more regen you would get, which Power Set Harness increases their available power pool. So that's why I still feel that using those three as a power troll are going to be the best for you when the power troll build is viable. A lot of people now, it's all buff trolling. So taking a look at buff trolling, we have a few different options here depending on what you want to do as a controller. So the main ones is going to be Amulet of Rao and Claw of Alkund. That's going to be your buff artifacts. And then you have a choice if you want to run Tetra or Cog or both. So if you're not going to be like an artifact swap buff controller, then you're looking at Rao, Claw, Tetra, Cog, and then you can kind of swap one artifact or just keep one depending if it's a prec or Might DPS group, etc. But if you want to be a complete artifact swap buff, then you're putting Amulet on your top slot, you're putting Bob Comlink on your second slot, which I'll break down this in a guide later, but essentially you're using Bop because all the controller powers besides Quantum will give immunity to adds in Elite and Elite Plus. So then that's an issue for the tank because you're making them immune and they break out, and then that causes issues. So that's why you see all these controllers using Bop so that they don't stun. And it makes it easier for Parasite because Bop will summon all 3 debuffs, so you get the max buff with Parasite. So Claw is on your third slot, which you always are art swapping. So you basically pop Claw, then you can go to Rings and set up the health buff for the 30 seconds. Then you're swapping in Cog, doing a combo, swapping in Tetra, doing a combo, swapping in Parasite before you pop Bob Comlink, and then swapping in Scrap on supercharges. So if you want to be one of those like inventory controllers, which is the colloquial term for it, then you're looking at all these artifacts to do it properly. So for tanking, we have Manacles of Force, Mystic, and Everyman. That pretty much, like Everyman is not going to fit every single tank power build, but if you have these 3 artifacts, like Manacles at 200, Mystic at 160, Everyman at 160, etc., that covers you for pretty much every single type of tank. You could switch to any tank you want with these 3 artifacts and still do very well. If you're doing Elite and Elite Plus content, then you're looking at getting Lacer's Pit Water, just because it's completely overpowered and broken. And then we still have Gemini as an unknown status. So if you're looked for spamming supercharges or keeping your own supercharge active for like dash attack, perfect poise, once again that's an unknown status. So you might already have that, or if you want to consider leveling it, that's up to you. So for pure healing, we're looking at Transformation Card, Page of Destiny, and Purple Healing Ray. And then same thing, unknown status for Gemini. I didn't do a gem spam build just out of questions. So if you weren't sure, if you did want to do a Gemini spam build and hope that the Gemini changes are fine, then you're looking at Gemini, Scrap, and Purple Healing Ray. And you basically drop Transformation and Page. So for a battle healer, this is something that's always requested. Now, I'll tell you, there is no battle healer loadout. Or power set. It's not like Sork is better for battle healing or Electric is. Battle healing only exists in DC because of Clarion and Demon's Fang. Without these artifacts, battle healing does not exist. It's just not, the game is not set up for that. It's not like other MMOs. You are a healer. None of your healer abilities do damage. They used to in the past with Celestial, but that was completely changed. So if you want to do battle healing and you don't have these 2 artifacts, don't even consider it, because you'll just be a detriment. So Purple Healing Ray helps, at least in that combination, so you actually can maintain your heals. If you don't need that, you can consider leveling Venomous Dispenser and Cog, because the prec buff will tie into the effectiveness of Clarion with your weapon buff. So that's something that's more like optional, but you certainly definitely need Clarion and Demon's Fang. So something to consider leveling. If Gemini is going to be an issue going forward for precision DPS, and they're not going to run either Gemini, then it may be going back to like a venomous dispenser meta. I can't speak to that. I'm not a prec DPS, but that certainly would make sense, because before, when venomous dispenser was buffed, it's pretty much like it was in the past, but it was an awkward swap because you had to do it so often, and it just didn't really work. I know some prec DPS that did it, but it just became like an awkward extra swap on top of scrap. So if they're not running either Gemini anymore, then they can run Venomous and then swap that out for scrap. And these others swap artifacts, so Flute, Mercy, Philosopher's Stone, that's your choice. Hard Isis I put there. I still need to cover it in a better in-depth review, but it's certainly an interesting artifact, so that's why I put it here. Controllers, like I said, Bot Comlink is optional. It is very handy for Elite content and Elite Plus, but you could always, for me, I just cheat. I'd rather switch to Quantum and be a Quantum troll and not worry about the that, but everyone's not going to switch to Quantum. But I mean, if you don't want to level a 200 artifact but still don't want to annoy the tanks, then you could just switch Quantum. Then healers for Clarion. Clarion, it's not so much for raid builds, but it's really good for, same thing. I mean, Clarion controllers can run it too. But Clarion is more for like alert content as well. But you can still use it in raid. But most of the time it's the controllers using it. And then Refractor for tanking. Same thing. If you're not going to be using Gemini, and if you don't want to use Lazarus Pit because it's like red content or whatever, you can run Refractor to buff the group. And it's a nice health buff for like ice and rage tanks. So the artifacts that are outside of the quotation mark meta, or ones that you shouldn't bother leveling because they just no reason or no fit for them. Computer's HUD hasn't really, it's great on paper, but it just doesn't work out in practicality. Same thing, the Gem of Horus changes didn't do anything. Lamort card only really works with rage melee with E-Chain. If you're not rage, then a Lamort card just doesn't work. I know there may be some people that disagree with that. I've tried Lamort with many, like munitions, nature. I've tried plenty of times to make it work, and it's just not viable. Controller, Grimbores, and a Megahedron. I know there was some kind of rumor that a Megahedron was a group buff. It's not. That's fake. It's not a group buff artifact, and it's still useless after the changes. Healers, if you're not going to be a battle healer, then Demon Fang is not going to be serving you any usefulness. Starheart is just a health buff, but I mean, if you want to level 200 artifact just for a health buff to swap it in as a healer, I mean, by all means, but you're going to be in like the 1% of players or less. And same thing, Orb. I don't feel Orb is necessary. Lasso Truth. There is plenty of situations where Lasso is handy as a tank, but it can just be rank 80. You just need the Lasso effect dragging ads. You don't need it to be 160, 200, whatever, 120. It just, at rank 80, it's fine. Cersei's Mask only works with ice, and even then, like, it wasn't better than the other artifact alternatives. And Legion Sparking Eye has never worked and never been practical. So that's basically the list. I know there's going to be plenty of questions in the comment section. Feel free to ask them and I can provide further advice. I won't be answering any questions about either Gemini because, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen. Something could happen, something might not happen, something could happen, and it may not be as bad as the what that was shown in the screenshot. We don't know. It's just there's too many different questions that have to be asked regarding that. Is either Gemini going to change? It has to change. Like I said, I've made multiple videos covering how broken and like ridiculous either Gemini is. So there's not a single person in this entire game that can defend either Gemini. It does not need to be changed. So take care, guys. Enjoy your double artifacts XP. Open up, break out that wallet, get your parents' credit card. You don't want to risk this not being around for another 8-9 months. Make sure you get those artifacts leveled. Take care, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.